Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Diane and my passion is painting and creating nature-inspired watercolours in my studio, which are easy for you to do too. So welcome on board, click subscribe and turn on notifications and let's learn to paint watercolour. Hi everyone, Diane here. So today, finally, I'm going to do a quick painting, and what I'm going to do today, it has to be quick because the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom has just resigned and there's nobody to take her place since Parliament is full of complete idiots. And so I'm expecting a phone call any minute. So I'm going to have to get this done so that I can dash up to London and stand to be elected as, the new Prime Minister because, if not me, then who, so to speak. So we're in a bit of a rush today. And so I'm going to be doing a very quick landscape here. This is based on a tutorial that I made about 3 years ago now. The very first tutorial that I put on YouTube before we even started the channel. It was just an experiment. And it's an incredibly bad piece of cinematography, absolutely awful. But about 2,500 people have seen it and no doubt felt embarrassed on my part because it's so bad. The painting's okay, it's just that everything else isn't any good. But, this is what we find when you first start. As Sean Cannell says, just press record, and that's what you have to do. And after that, it can only go, you either give up or it gets better. So today, I'm going to be painting a little landscape based on, have a look and you'll find it. It's a bit like this one. The video that I did is a bit like that. This is a trial this morning, but I'm not going to paint it exactly like that. This is the technique that I'm going to use. I wasted a piece of arches on that. Ugh. God, anyone want to buy a picture? So to start with, let's talk about the materials. I'm going to use my Kuretake Gansai Tambi set, which I know a little bit more about now. I've done a bit more research and I know now that the difference between these watercolours and the watercolours that we tend to have in the West is that these ones contain not only the binder that is normally in ordinary watercolours, which is gum arabic, but also a kind of something a bit more like a glue. And you can see that because this is why I should be Prime Minister, because I look for answers. You see this is the paint. And if you, I'll be as good as anybody. I'm old enough, and I'm female. I'm probably a minority. So when you take hold of this paint, you can just pull it out, you see? You try doing that to a normal pan of paint. And it's flexible. It's like rubber. You would think, it's just like vinyl. It feels like vinyl. You can bend it. See? It's interesting, isn't it? Twist it, nothing happens. And there's a little dash of glue in there, see? And then, presumably, they cut little rectangles and then glue them in. And it's amazing because the paint, although that's completely and utterly and totally dry, as soon as you pick up a brush and you touch the paint, just once, let's say, like that. I'll find a piece of paper. Just once, and you've got paint already. Twice, and you've got that much paint. 3 times, and you've got that much paint. It picks up really easily, which, considering that before you touch it with water, it's like rubber or vinyl or something. I think that's quite surprising. Anyway, so there's that. And the other thing is, what was I going to say about these? They are similar to watercolours in the sense that you can dilute them with lots of water. If you dilute them with less water, they are a little bit more like gouache, but they're not exactly like gouache because gouache dries with a more powdery, very opaque surface. This just holds a lot of colour on the surface of the paper rather than powder, so it's quite nice. And the other thing I wanted to say was the reason for the size of the pans. I really like these pans, And apparently the reason why they're this size is because the Japanese often use Hake brushes like this. Sometimes even as big as this and this. So if you use brushes this size, you aren't going to do very well, are you, with, I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again for those that didn't hear my gems of wisdom. If you use a brush like this, you're not going to do very well with pans like that. So the Japanese, for obvious reasons, therefore, make their pans much bigger, and you can actually fit one of these great big brushes right in there. Look, see? It's amazing, isn't it, what you can do? And if you use, I've got an old Ron Ranson Hake or Hake brush here, which I gave a bit of a haircut to because I wanted it to be a bit more irregular than this. So this one fits in really nicely. This one, even it will go that way. So I'm going to use that to do the sky and some of the painting. I might do all the painting with it. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how it goes. So there's a couple of things for you to ponder as you nod off to sleep at night. If you're anything like me, that's when you think about your painting. I'm lying there thinking, what am I going to paint tomorrow? Oh my gosh, what am I going to paint tomorrow? I don't know what I'm going to paint tomorrow. Paint something. And then next thing I know, it's morning. So the colours that we're going to use today, I am going to use ultramarine blue, first of all, for the sky and the water. Going to use cadmium orange. Going to use this one here, which is, hang on a second, I've forgotten. That is, please forgive me, Indian red. Indian red, which will be nice and opaque. And probably this colour here, which is raw umber, maybe a bit of black, maybe some indigo. Excuse me, I need a drink of water. And we'll see how it goes. So first of all, I've got a little bit of blue on there already. So I'm going to just pick up a bit more blue, and I'm going to have a piece of scrap paper here to try out on. What was I going to say? I was going to say something else then, and I've forgotten what it was. Scrap paper, scrap paper. Always have a piece of scrap paper so that you can try out your paint before you apply it to the paper. Oh, the paper. This is TH Saunders. I'm not even sure if you can get that anymore, so ignore that. Just use any piece of 140-pound cold press watercolour paper. So we're going to dash in a sky, immediately realising that it's a little bit too dark, but it doesn't matter because it'll dry lighter. Dash in a sky like this. This nicely chopped up, hair-cutted brush, you can see the watermark there, gives a good varied texture. That's the idea anyway. And then we're going to be looking for some greyish colour next. So I need some grey. So we'll look for black. And I'm not going to fuss around mixing colours. We'll just use the colours as they come out of the pan, because that's the whole point of these. And I'll just dry that, wash that and dry it. The thing with these brushes is they do hold quite a lot of water, so you need a cloth handy to sort of sop up the excess. And I think now I will put in, let me think, what shall I put in next? So darker blue, maybe some indigo here. No, that's not indigo, this is indigo. Yes, that's right. And mix that with some black to make it darker. And up here as well. Might as well take this tree up into the watermark so it doesn't show so much. Okay, we'll do that. I have no idea what direction to take. Over hillside or into the wood. And then we'll put some orange. I will probably afterwards make that darker. Oh, I tell you what. Where's it gone? I need some quinacridone gold. I'm just going to use some This isn't Kuretake paint, this is just quinacridone gold. Pop some of that in. Can't do a painting without that. But then we need lots more orange. And I'm going to go into the red for some more orange and pop that into the... Doing lots of, you know, stippling kind of effect here, a la Bob Ross. And go up there with that, come over here with that. This is an autumn scene, just in case you wondered. Then we want some of this. Put that in here and there. And some black. And the black gives you the contrast that you need, really. And then the edge of the water is going to be something like that. I think, yeah. Oh well, you know, you can only die once. And now I'm going to switch to a round brush and pick up some more ultramarine, plenty of water, and I'm going to take a chance here. Let that run. We do know, don't we, that this is only the beginning. So we're going to have, obviously, reflections down here. And then some more blue, and I'm going to let that run. And you just cannot control this. You've got to say in your head, oh, I realise now I'm doing a semi-abstract. Right? Okay. So that's exciting. We have a little bit of light here, so that's kind of good because that means that it will look as if there's, you know, and we might be able to, when that's a bit drier, we should be able to scratch in to that. I might just lift out a little bit of that. This Kuretake paint is quite good at being lifted out, because you don't want just kind of blank black, do you? So we'll just do that, and then maybe scrumple up, and just lift out some of the colour here too. Partly because we want it to dry today and not later in the week. There I've got a puddle, so we'll just lift that out. And then another trick is to come in and just wipe across with your piece of paper and lift out some highlights in the water. And let that run, and that'll sort itself out in a minute. Okay, lift out a bit more up here, a bit more light. Okay, now we have to either whack a hairdryer onto that or let it dry. Yes. Oh, no. I beg your pardon. I think we can probably scratch in a few. We might be able to get some whites if you scratch into the wet paint. These are tree trunks, by the way, just in case you wondered. That's the idea, or branches, and they will become darker. And you can do that with anything. I mean, a pen like that is good, or you could use, not that piece, what could you use? You could use a stick. Like that. That gives you a nice rough, and we'll dig in and get some of the paint off and out of the way, like that. You don't want to do it too much, but then you might want to go across a little bit too. This is where you get creative. Okay, we're just doing branches. Actually, this stick is better than the pen nib. It doesn't destroy the surface of the paper quite so badly. We'll put some more leaves in there in a minute when that's a little bit drier. And we might, the other thing you could use is a knife. You can use a knife to scratch the paper once it's a little bit dry. So what I'm going to do now, I am going to dry it with a hairdryer. Okay, so, you know, while I was drying that, I was dreaming about what it would be like to be the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom at the moment. I'm thinking, my God, how embarrassing. Prime Minister for 42 days. It's a record. Okay, so I'm just picking up some fairly water-free paint from my little big pans, and I'm just putting in the coloured leaves by dabbing a la Bob Ross, remembered his name, I'm going to use it now, the leaves onto the branches which I placed earlier in position. So these trees are obviously turning very bright, like Canadian maples, I suppose you'd say. And let's pop some brown, if I can get the hold of that down here, a bit more brownish than those trees there. And this you can get creative here. You just put it where you think it's going to look best. If you can figure that out, it's up to you really. We might put a few more branches in a minute, and a few darker ones up there. Try not to make an even pattern, and then in using it in its sticky character, because it does have a certain stickiness to it, which is perfect if you're going to do this kind of leaf pattern. There we are, some nice leafy darks there, and just the odd blob, a blobberama, and maybe a little bit up here, but a tall thin tree there perhaps, and maybe, I don't know, do we want some green in it? Probably not. I think green might spoil the effect. Okay, so then maybe we'll just take the round brush and emphasize some of these darks here. Just don't go over the white areas, just the darks, to make those tree trunks stand out a bit. Like that. Do we need any more black? Maybe, perhaps we should fill that in there with a bit of dark on the edge. That's probably enough of the Bob Ross effect, I think. And I'm going to clean the brush, and let's see if we've got some grey here. Maybe that would work up here, the back there, to make it a little bit darker with a little bit of black. That's a sort of tree in the background. Something here as well, perhaps a little bit. Take that up a bit higher. I don't want it to be the same height. don't want too much of the erratic, so I'm just coming in and breaking that down a little bit. I'm working quite small, and really a painting like this with a brush this size ought to be a little bit bigger. But that's okay. Just don't lose your lights, whatever you do. Don't lose your lights. So we need then to, I think probably just, this is a bit scary, this bit. I'm going to try to, I think I might put some white. I think it's okay to use white on this because after all the Kuretake paints aren't what you'd call transparent completely, so we're not painting transparently. So I'll just dash in some white there to break up that solid piece of blue. And we'll put a little bit in here. You could also scratch it if you like, might be more effective. See what happens when it's dry. Then we do really need to give some indication of those dark trees there. Just a little bit here. And a bit more down here from here. And a little bit of orange. And I'm sure somebody will notice where I haven't got the reflections right, but, you know, when you're going to become Prime Minister, you're not worried too much about details. So there we are. I'm going to dry that now. So I'm just going to drop in just a few little dribs and drabs of white using a pen. This is just an ordinary calligraphy pen. And just a few little dots and lines here and there to just liven the whole thing up a little bit, make it a little bit more, what do you want to say? Lively. And I think that'll do, actually, to tell you the truth. I put a mount around it so that you can see what it actually really looks like. And there we are. I don't think that took more than 10 or 15 minutes to paint, and it was quite fun to do, so give it a try. Have a look at the old video as well to see something a little bit different. But yes, so have a try at the, I'm sure a lot of you have already bought the Kuretake paints. I started off using them for whimsical stuff, and it's ideal for that, and cartoons and all those sorts of things that you do. But I wanted to see whether it would work for a landscape, and it does. So that's also good. That means that you don't absolutely have to have a set of traditional transparent watercolours in order to be able to do good landscapes, because that is actually okay. It's different from what you get if you use Winsor & Newton or Schminker or Daniel Smith or any of those others. A little bit different, but it's nice to have the freedom to be able to use the nearly dry paint to do the leaves on the trees, like that kind of thing. And you could come in with a few more if you want to give it a little bit more depth. But for the purposes of this demonstration, I think that will do. And I'll just take you in a little bit closer so you can see. I'll let you go. Give us a like and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.